How can you come to a wet fit and don't expect for you to get wet? You don't know it's blows you go get. You watching SAT TV.
Bring out the reading, SAT Telecoms.
Welcome to SAT TV News. I'm your presenter, Alicia George. In our top stories, AG says citizenship for the Silvestris was fair and transparent. Jamaica police charged juror in Vybz Kartel case. EU imposes sanctions over Crimea. And in sports, Windies captain confident of retaining ICC World T20 title. Details of these will follow.
You're watching SAT Telecoms.
Welcome back. During the 5th meeting of the 4th session of the 8th Parliament, under the Commonwealth of Dominica Constitution, Honorable Ian Douglas, Minister for Tourism and Legal Affairs, will introduce a bill seeking to amend the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Dominica to facilitate the establishment of the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, as the final court of appeal in Dominica and to provide for related matters. The session is scheduled to begin on Wednesday, March 19, 2014 at 10 a.m. at the House of Assembly on Victoria Street in Roseau. In January of 2014, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit announced that Dominica had received no objection from the government of the United Kingdom to move away from the Privy Council and recognize the CCJ as the final appellate court. The first reading of the bill will take place at this meeting of the House. However, a 90-day period must elapse before the second and third readings of the bill. In more news, Her Excellency Godelieve van den Berg, Belgium's new ambassador to Dominica, on Friday, March 14, 2014, paid a courtesy visit to Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs in Dominica. Ambassador van den Berg replaces Ambassador Frederick Maroos, following years of relations established between the two countries since 1980.
Well, I'd like to welcome you to Dominica.
Thank you.
And to say that we're very happy of your visit, and of course you present your credentials to His Excellency the President. Belgium has been a very good friend of Dominica for a very long time.
That's
we have
what
some of your citizens here.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
That's right. You have some of your citizens here who've been here and who have some small investments in Dominica also.
Hotels, yes. So we have to increase it.
The ambassador presented her credentials to President of Dominica, His Excellency Charles A. Savre, on Wednesday, March 12, 2014. President Savre highlighted the desire to further strengthen and maintain the cordial relations that already exist between the two countries, as well as explore other means to improve and deepen the bilateral and multilateral cooperation. Mexican Ambassador Luis Manuel Moreno also paid a courtesy call to the Prime Minister on Friday, March 14, 2014.
And we also want to express again our thanks to the President, the government, and people of Mexico.
Thank you.
For the assistance given to us in the sum of $500,000 as Mexico's contribution to our disaster of December 24th.
Thank you.
So we're very grateful for this. And we also want to point out how happy we are to see the keen interest of the President in forging closer ties with not only Dominica but the whole of Caribbean. And certainly we look forward to to the Mexico CARICOM summit
on the 29th.
On the 29th. And we look forward also to the ACS meeting.
Ambassador Moreno presented his letter of credence to President Savre on Wednesday, February 19, 2014. For a number of years, Dominica has benefited through its bilateral relations with Mexico through scholarships to pursue studies at selected Mexican universities. In other stories, Lime has broken its silence on an allegation made by telecommunications company Digicel, alleging that the operator was overcharging some of its customers for calls made from Lime numbers across the Caribbean. Country manager of Digicel Dominica, Mr. Richard Stanton, stated on Friday, March 14th, and they wrote to the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC, requesting that an investigation be launched into Lime's call handling. Mr. Stanton noted, despite persistent efforts to work with Lime to rectify the situation and multiple assurances from Lime that the situation had been rectified, intermittent examples of the issue is ongoing in various Lime markets. On Monday, March 17, 2014, Lime's Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Martin Roos, says there is absolutely no substance to Digicel's claims about overcharging and will be communicating this to the regulators. He noted that the claims made by Digicel were resolved from as early as January 2014. Mr. Roos added that any charges made in error have been immediately corrected by Lime as part of usual settlement practices between themselves and other operators. This, he stated, is simply mischief-making by Digicel that will potentially mislead both their customers and ours. The NTRC is investigating the matter. In other news, following the controversy surrounding Dominica's participation at the recently concluded Sochi Olympics in Russia, Dominica's Attorney General, Mr. Levi Peter, has broken his silence on the matter. Mr. Peter says the process of granting citizenship for the couple was fair and transparent.
The two people in question, Gary and Angelica Di Silvestri, are two people who applied for citizenship under Dominica's Economic Citizenship Program, as many others have done. They applied in August of 2012, at least that's when we received the application, the records show. They were interviewed in November 2012. They were interviewed in Dominica. They were interviewed right here in Dominica at the Financial Center. In fact, at the conference room, which is where most of the interviews take place in Dominica. They were interviewed by myself and the head of Special Branch. The interviews took place. There were other people interviewed over the period, 14th and 15th of November of 2012. They, as everybody else who applies for citizenship under the Economic Citizenship Program.
He noted the Silvestris submitted all the necessary documents required for the program and were reviewed by the due diligence process and were subjected to an interview like everyone else. The attorney noted the citizenship was not granted based on any promise of an assurance to build a children's hospital on the island.
I don't see where the Dominican government can be blamed or should be blamed for what some may feel is an issue. Dominican government has done what it has to do. The area that I think there may be some controversy in terms of possibly a legitimate argument or discussion, if you want, is the reports seem to indicate that the couple said or intimated or whatever that they had been granted citizenship as a result of either a contribution to or building a children's hospital or something like that. That is complete nonsense, and I think a moment's reflection by any sober-minded person would make that clear. First and foremost, we don't have any children's hospital in Dominica, so I don't know where which hospital that could come to. Second of all, no name has been mentioned as who this money to government account, which government official, which government minister. I've not heard any name mentioned.
According to him, if the Di Silvestris mentioned anything about a contribution, they need to clarify. But as far as he knows, they only paid their contribution of US $100,000, which is required for the Economic Citizenship Program under which they applied. He added if any institution received a contribution for the Di Silvestris, then they also must come forward and speak out. In related stories, leader of the United Workers' Party, UWP, Mr. Lennox Linton, wants answers on Dominica's participation in the Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. Mr. Linton stated the Attorney General, Mr. Levi Peters, who broke his silence on the matter, spoke in an effort to brush aside the issue of economic citizenship. The UWP has viewed with concern the recent negative press accompanied by Dominica's participation in the recently concluded Winter Olympic Games.
It was the De Silvestris, not any media house in Dominica that concocted any story. The De Silvestris, for themselves, with their mouths, informed the world that they were invited to become Dominican citizens after making charitable contributions to Dominica, including for the construction of a children's hospital.
The De Silvestris informed the world via international media that they were invited to Dominica to become citizens after making charitable contributions to the island's children's hospital, a hospital which does not exist.
So the United Workers' Party, in light of that, was calling on the Roosevelt-Skerrit government to, number one, inform the Dominican people what steps, if any, are being taken to reverse the negative effects of the Sochi scandal on Dominica's image in the international community, including, but not limited to, remedial actions to address the willful involvement of Dominica in an act of fraud against the International Olympic Committee. And you know, when I listened to the Attorney General this morning, I'm left with no doubt in my mind that Dominica was willfully involved in an act of fraud against the International Olympic Committee. Because Mr. Levi Peter, after all of this time, is still not concerned about what the De Silvestris have done to damage the interest of Dominica.
Mr. Linton is also requesting that truthful and complete disclosure as to how much was paid by the De Silvestris for their citizenship and other particulars for the regular and diplomatic passports be issued to them. A call is also being made for the specific amount donated by the couple for the children's hospital or for any other purpose, in addition to the name of the institution or individual who received the money, the bank the money was sent to, and the applicable rate of interest on these public funds. The UWP leader said this is in no way a political scheme, but simply an attempt to get Dominica's international image restored from the damage done by the action of the couple. In more news, World Rotaract Week came to a close on Sunday, March 16, 2014. The event, which commemorated on March 10th, is observed annually and is celebrated by Rotaract clubs worldwide. The week honors the chartering of the very first Rotaract club in North Carolina, USA on 13th March 1968 and celebrates the achievements of Rotaract. The Rotaract Club of Rosa too played its part in the observance of the week by undertaking activities and projects to coincide with the mottos Fellowship Through Service and Service Above Self. From Tuesday 10th March, Rotaractors took to the radio airwaves to inform the public about its many activities and community service projects. On World Rotaract Day, March 13th, past Rotaractors, current and prospective members came together and 3 new members were inducted to the club. The highlight of the week was the club's visit to Dalis on Sunday 16th March when a hamper was presented to a volunteer representative from the House of Hope, a home for mentally and physically challenged children. Volunteer at the house, Miss Marie Alexander, remarked that the personnel in charge of the institution were indeed thankful for the donations given and the service rendered, affirming that it was a renewal of the hope for which the institution was named. In other stories, the Police Organization for Youth Development, POYD, has made a donation of EC $1,580 to the Education Trust Fund. The Education Trust Fund was established in 1981 through an Act of Parliament to assist students experiencing difficulty attending secondary school and is supported by a yearly subvention from the government of Dominica. Former POYD members Dr. Ria Olivasi and Dr. Sophia George and POYD leader, former Police Commissioner Mr. Desmond Blanchard, recently made the presentation to Chairman of the Education Trust Fund, Mr. David Phillip. According to Dr. Olivasi, the principles they learned as POYD members contributed to the success they enjoy today. Today's occasion is a testimony to our continued commitment to invest in the youth of our country as we support the endeavors of the Education Trust Fund, she said. Meanwhile, Mr. Phillip told the handing over ceremony that the donation from POYD would provide students with much-needed assistance to continue their education at Dominica's secondary schools. He commended the group for the value its members had placed on education and said it was important for the Education Trust Fund to assist in providing educational opportunities for others. We need to make the public understand how important it is to make education available, he said, noting that one day full educational potential for our people can be achieved. And in court news, a police officer and his girlfriend, who were arrested on Friday, March 14, 2014, for theft, have each been placed on $2,500 bond. The duo, Alpius Ogis of Capuchin and his girlfriend, Christine Burnett of Stockfarm, both 24 years old, appeared before Magistrate Ali Gill on Monday, March 17, 2014. The charge of theft was read to them and they offered a not guilty plea. According to that charge, on Thursday, 13 March 2014, the two were found in possession of a clutch pad worth $1,900, which had been stolen from a bus at Rockaway in Canefield. There was no objection to bail by the prosecution. The two will return to court on 24 July 2014. Augustine Ogis stood as surety for his son and his girlfriend, and attorney Gina Dyer Monroe represented both defendants. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.